Knock it out.
DJ Immortal, live in the mix.
Alright, Outlaw Radio Live fans, we are live in full effect right here, right now with the East Coast legend, Tony Sunshine of Big Pun's Terror Squad. How you doing this evening?
What's going on, my brother? How you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing very well. I want to ask you, what made you decide to get into music initially?
I've been singing since I was like 5 years old. It's always been a passion ever since I can remember. My mom discovered that I could sing when I was about that age. And the rest is history, man. It's just something I love to do.
And I also heard on the internet that you actually, in the mid-'80s, as a young boy, you performed at the 4th of July Festival. I have to ask you, what was that experience like, actually being such a young boy and performing in front of so many people?
I loved it, man. Ever since I love performing. I love being on the stage. Ever since I can remember, I turned into somebody else when I touched that stage. And, you know, it's a blessing being able to look back and be part of history and just performing at the 116 4th of July festivals. I don't think they even take place anymore. But back then, you know, people like Celia Cruz and Tito Puente, Eddie Santiago, Rafi Sabatel, Johnny Sabatel, who were big salsa legends, back then would perform, you know, at those festivals. And at a young age of 7 to 8 years old, I got a chance to sing with those folks. You know what I mean? So it's a blessing, man. Definitely a blessing to look back and be a part of that.
And when you said also, like, you know, they don't do it anymore, it's sad that, like, amazing stuff like that, you know, they don't really do after all these years. They really should bring that back for 4th of July.
Yeah, I really don't know the intel on why they don't, but I know that they don't do them anymore, you know, so, yeah.
And also, at the age of 13, you were actually taken in by Big Pun. I have to ask you, what was it like living with the legendary Big Pun?
No, that story is not accurate. At the age of 13, I was not taken in by Big Pun. At the age of 13, I introduced myself to Fat Joe.
Oh, my apologies. I guess like they say, you can't always believe everything you read on the internet.
So at the age of 13, I introduced myself to Fat Joe. I sang a song for him, which was Forever My Lady by Jodeci. And the rest is history after that. So I actually knew Joe way before I ever knew I was going to meet Pun. And at the age of 16, going on 17 was when I met Pun. You know, but I was already hanging out with Joe, and Joe had already came to pick me up with God Bless the Dead Flex. We had went to Relativity Records, and, you know, I had did a bunch of things with Joe way before I even met Pun.
So when you introduced yourself to Joe, like, what was his expression when he first heard you sing? Because I, myself, and the rest of our listeners know you have an amazing singing voice.
And he thought I was really dope. I think that his exact words was like, shit, you can really sing. Like, you really sing. You know, we exchanged numbers, and the very next day he came to pick me up again with God Bless the Dead Full Flex, and I was off with him. You know, I went to the mom and pop record stores with him, and I went to Relativity. He took me to go meet High Five. I believe that he took me to meet High Five so I could sing for them. I did. It was supposed to be like a deal involved or something, but at the time I was very young. You know, I needed guidance. And, of course, you know, I guess they weren't in no place to give me guidance due to the fact that they were young and fresh in the game, and they was about to do what they needed to do. So, of course, I had to wait my turn. You know what I'm saying? During the process of waiting my turn, and during the process of growing up and playing Entourage and going back and forth to the shows and just, you know, being part of the Entourage, somewhere along the line, Pun came along, you know, and a couple of the fellas came along, and Pun was introduced to Joe, and Joe took a liking to Pun, and the rest is history, you know. But the story goes, I met Joe way before I met Pun, and we all know that if it wasn't for Joe, there would be no Pun, and there would be no Terror Squad.
And that's most definitely true. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And so, as we all know, you're a member of the Terror Squad. I have to ask you, what's the story behind that iconic group? Like, how did you all get together? Like, what's the story of the formation?
Uh, so, Pun had a group called Full of Clips, who was very popular in the neighborhood, and we all, loved Full of Clips, and Full of Clips consists of some of the fellas from the neighborhood, and they would do Victoria 5, what do you call it? Talent shows, talent contests. The Victoria 5 was very legendary for putting talent shows and contests together. It's right next door to the Apollo Theater. And, Pun and his crew was making noise. Joe heard about it. Joe already knew who Pun was. And, Joe had an idea and understood that Pun could be a super duper star. And, he convinced Pun of so. He convinced Pun that he was a star and that, he could make it solo. And then later on, he could come back for his crew. And Pun believed, and that's exactly what happened. Pun went and jumped on Joe's album, and he spit a few verses. He made some noise. After that, Joe went and made sure that he secured a deal for Pun. Got Pun signed. He made sure that he got Pun all the best collaborations. And Pun worked with all the greatest producers. His talent combined with everyone that Joe brought to the table had Pun blow up overnight. Pun was a beast, but due to that, made sure that Pun secured a deal for everybody else, and together Fat Joe and Pun put together Terror Squad Productions, and the rest is history.
And I have to ask, my personal favorite song that you have done is 100%, which is featuring Big Pun. I have to ask you, what was the inspiration behind that iconic track, and what was it like actually doing that track with Pun?
Yeah, so it was Big Pun featuring Tony Sunshine. Yeah, it was amazing. Again, I have to tell you the same thing I tell everybody. That record, I won't say was a joke, but we candidly spoke about that record way before we recorded it, and we knew it would be taking a chance because, this is hip-hop. And there was no bridge. There was no bridge between the Latino culture and hip-hop, really. Even though we've been part of hip-hop since day one, and, we've contributed to hip-hop since day one, but there was really no bridge. And we understood that it was a chance. Like, we understood that either they was going to receive it in a positive light or they weren't going to understand it. So, we definitely had fun recording the record. It was definitely, it definitely meant something to us, and it was a process, and it was a lot of jokes being thrown around, but once the record was done and it was executed and it was put out, it took a life of its own, and the rest is history. I'm definitely honored. I'm definitely appreciative, and it's something that fed my family for a numerous amount of years, and it's something that's going to be a part of me forever.
And also, even the music video, it just seemed like a fun music video to be a part of. You guys just driving around Puerto Rico and just having a good time, man.
Oh yeah, we definitely had a ball. We definitely had a ball putting that together.
And also so we're jumping ahead a few years here, but in 2010, you got signed to Jive Records. I have to ask you, how did that record deal come to be for you? And what was it like working for Jive?
I gotta tell you that it was a dream come true, of course. What kid? I was a young kid. What kid didn't want to get signed to Jive?
That's true.
So I was signed to Jive. I was signed to Loud Records, which was a major deal for me as well. Because Jive Records was Wu-Tang, was Big Pun, was Remy Martin, Raekwon, Ghostface. So being part of a roster that major was incredible itself. During the process and through the politics, Loud folded, and, Steve went on to do different ventures, and everybody went and signed to different situations, and that's how Jive came about. Cool and Dre landed a situation over there, and due to that, we put a whole project together through Epidemic, Terror Squad Epidemic, and that's how Jive came along.
And during your journey at Jive, you actually were working with producer Swizz Beats. I have to ask you, what was it like working with Swizz?
This is amazing. This is amazing. You know, I got a real personal relationship with Darren Dean, who is CEO and co-owner of Rough Rider Records, which is Swizz Beats' uncle. So, you know, through Darren Dean, which is a good friend of mine, I worked with Swizz. But I gotta say that we know Swizz for so many years. You know, from being on the road, and Swizz is from the Bronx. So it's always an honor working with Swizz. You know, it's always an honor being around some of the greats, some of the legends.
And also, you also, did work with TPain. What was it like working with TPain? And do you think in the near future, Tony Sunshine and TPain might put together a few more tracks?
Let's see what the future holds. You know, I don't wanna promise the fans anything that's not in the works. But you know, God has a mysterious way of working, and you know, hopefully in the near future, that's something that would be possible. Working with TPain was amazing. Again, working with TPain was amazing. You know, we spent quite a few hours in the studio laughing and joking, and, you know, he's a Patron lover like I am, so, you know, we was good. We recorded a song. I'll say that some of the people, after we recorded the record, a lot of people around me didn't like the record. But T-Pain was convinced that that was the wave. Like, I kept telling them, yo, you know, Joe don't think that, and these people don't think that. And he was like, yeah, forget about what they think. This is the new Tony Sunshine. This shit gonna take you out of here. But again, during the process and through the politics, the God situation was sour. You know, and not because it was any of my doing, but I guess, you know, it was just a lot of politics. So the album never came out with Jive either.
Do you think it will come out, like, you know, maybe under your own independent label or anything like that, or do you think it's just going to stay in the vault?
I can't tell you because these labels own the music and they're just holding on to it. I would never be able to tell you what they're going to do with the music, my brother. What I can tell you is that it's a new and improved Tony, and we got new music coming. You know, back then, I was signed to all these labels. I signed to Jive. I signed to Universal. I signed to UVO. I signed to TVT. I signed to all these labels who thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread because I was different. But then for the same token, because I was different, they were afraid and they didn't know what to do with me. So more or less, back then, before the reggaeton epidemic, before the Latino epidemic blew and being Latino was the thing, and there was the wave, I was either too Spanish for the hip-hop community or too black to the Latino community. They didn't understand me. Let's fast forward 15 years later, and it's the wave. You know what I'm saying? So the same thing with trap music, the same thing with R&B gangster music. They told me it would never work. Let's fast forward. You can't be a rapper if you can't hold a melody. You can't be an R&B singer if you can't make trap music. You understand? So let's just say I was way ahead of my time. I told them this was the wave. They didn't listen. Now somebody else is capitalizing off of the sound.
And that's true, you know. I bet you Jive is kicking himself in the butt right now.
I guess. But they won't admit to it. I'll let them tell the story.
And also in 2016, you reunited with Fat Joe and the Terror Squad. After all those years, what was it like being back working with them? Like, was it like a deja vu moment for you?
My family, man. You know, Joe's my family. Joe's my brother. That's my family. It really didn't matter how much time I spent apart. You know, even though I was angry and most likely I said a few things out of anger, I would never allow anyone else to step outside the box and say anything out the ordinary because, you know, that's where my heart was. And I was just trying to find myself and, you know, being young and not understanding the game and not understanding certain things, you get emotional and you jump outside the window and then, you know, you grow up. You turn into an adult, and certain things start falling in place, and you go through certain things in life where you start understanding the political side of things, and you start understanding, you start opening your eyes to the masses, and you start taking in your fault. You start admitting to what it is you brought to the table, and what it is that you did, and what you could have done better. So I'll say that as an adult, I'm okay with things now. You know what I'm saying? I learned to deal with it, and being back with the family is amazing. Joe is my family. The squad is my family. You know what I'm saying? If you look back, we never really had a big beef. We never really had a big situation. It was just politics, that's all. Nobody got hurt. Nobody robbed nobody. It wasn't about no beef. And when I stepped off, I left as a perfect gentleman, and Joe stepped off as a perfect gentleman. It was never about no money. It was never about nothing more than just playing music. You know what I mean? So the situation is not like the situation couldn't get fixed.
That's true. It sounds more like just a mutual situation, you know what I mean? You both parted ways in a mutual way.
That is it.
And also, your two newest singles is Shots Fired and Bruce Leroy. I have to ask you, where can our listeners buy or stream those singles, and what's the inspiration, Bob, on them?
They're all Shots Fired. I like to watch documentaries. I'm a big documentary watcher, and I like to learn about certain people, and I like to learn about the gang culture and do research on some of the gangsters from New York and some of the kingpins from New York, and I just like to do research. I like to know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. And in the hip-hop community, sometimes when we get together, those are the kind of folks we talk about. You know what I mean? So I like to sit there and watch a lot of documentaries and soak in the knowledge, and be able to understand certain people and why they did what they did and what came about, who had beef with who, and why they had beef with them. And so I sat there and I watched a bunch of documentaries on the YTC crew, Yellow Top crew from Manhattan, which was TPain, Roosevelt, and Shango. And they had a lot of beef with a lot of individuals and Gangsta Lou and just a bunch of different street legends. And so I went to the studio the next day and I heard this beat, and with all of them in mind and their stories and shit that they had went through, I sat and I wrote this record called Shots Fired. You know what I mean? So a lot of people try to ask me, yo, who you talking about in this record, and who you got? I'm not talking about nobody. It's just a movie I put together. It's just a script I put together. It's the same thing as going to the movies and watching, Commando or watching Rambo or whatever new wave movie is out. This is a movie script I put together. That is it.
So are they available on all streaming media platforms?
Yeah, they're all available. Spotify, all major platforms. You can find Shots Fired. Bruce Leroy the same. Bruce Leroy came about just having fun in the studio. I heard the beat came on, and for some reason, I just, came out with, I got the glow. Bruce Leroy. And I figured, yo, it's so fun. I'm having so much fun with it that why not go in and record it? And I recorded it, and it became the hook, and the rest I just freestyled and made sure I had fun with it. And Bruce Leroy, I got the glow. It's just about shining. It's just about having a certain shine, about feeling a certain way. You know what I mean? Waking up in the morning and feeling good. So I got the glow. I feel like Bruce Leroy. I don't know if you've seen the movie Last Dragon, but coming up, it was a significant movie to us. And my favorite part is when, they asked Bruce Leroy, what's his name? Sure enough, asks Bruce Leroy, who's the master, after he dunks him in the water when he picks him up. Bruce Leroy says, I am. But during the process, when he says I am, he gets a certain glow. And there was a song behind him that goes, I got the glow, the glow, the glow. You know who got the glow. It's like a real old school record. And that's where I got the glow from. Bruce Leroy. The rest is history. It's a dope record, man. It has a significant meaning to me. I don't know if anybody else gets the meaning behind it. But that's what it is. Get your shine on, get your glow on, feel good about yourself, and just feel like Bruce Leroy a little bit, man. Get your shine on.
And also, you do a lot of work with Los Prez. He's actually your tour DJ. I have to ask you, how did you and Prez get together? What's the story behind that?
My brother, that's my guy, man. We've been together for quite some time. You know, he's from the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. We had some mutual friends. He was introduced to me. His ambition level was up. You know, this is what I wanted to do, and he proved it time and time again. We got some money together, and we figured, yo, this shit works. You know, there were some people that try to get in the way, and some people that try to tarnish the relationship. But when something's going to work, it's going to work. And what's real is going to recognize real. And, you know, we here. We get into it. We making it happen. Slowly but surely, we get into the finish line. But you know what they say. The turtle won the race. So we on it.
And I also saw on your Facebook that you have a new project coming out called Revolution. I have to ask you, what can we expect from that project, and when is the estimated release date for that?
We could say like the 9th or the 10th. We're going to be releasing that record. And due to the state of due to where the world is at this present moment with the coronavirus, and let's not just pretend like the coronavirus is the only thing that was happening in the world. There's so many things. You know, the world is just in a real dark place, period. And, you know, people forget that love will conquer all. You know, I know that we're in a tough place, but bitterness is not all we have. You know what I mean? And if we learn to just stay positive, somewhat positive, I know it's easier said than done, but if we remain positive and learn to follow rules just a little bit and be there for each other, you know, instead of thinking each other into a darker place, let's start. Revolution is more about starting a love revolution. We're not condoning violence. We're not saying let's start a revolution and go out there and fight and get your hands dirty. We're saying let's get together and let's share this love. Let's share these prayers. Let's share these good vibes. Let's start a love revolution. You know, and that's what it's about. So, you know, I'm talking about how they say love doesn't exist anymore, and how they feeding us lies or the media is feeding us lies, and they're keeping us from somewhat the truth. And it's just a good song above all, man. It's about good vibes. It's about good vibes.
So I have to ask you, Tony, what's next for you, man? Other than Revolution, what's next for you?
Whatever God has in store for me, my brother. I don't know how to stay still, man. I want to do it all. I want to make movies. I want to do documentaries. I got so many songs. I have so much music recorded, and I have so many different EPs. I could put out a gospel. I could put out a gospel project, put out a pop project. I could put out a whole rap record if I wanted to. You know, I think I just might. I joke about it all the time, but I think I just might have an opera sitting in the studio somewhere. I just might. So I don't know what's in store for me. I know I love music, and I know I love the game, man. So I can't tell you what's next for me, but what I can tell you is that I'll be making music to the day I die. That's all I know. Whether they respect it or not, whether they receive it in a good light or not, I do it because I love it.
So, Tony, this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that comes on the show, just a chance to give shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to, and also your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you if they're not already doing so.
Listen, man, I just want to give a shout-out to the world, you know? I want to give a shout-out to the entire world and encourage the world to stay healthy, man. Stay healthy, stay productive, stay positive. Most of all, stay inside at this present moment and don't contribute to the nonsense. Stay inside, give your neighbors, give your family, give your friends a chance to live. This shit is spreading at a fast rate. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't discriminate. And you never know where you're going to get it or how you... give your neighbors, give your family, give your friends, give these folks a chance to live. You know, I know you think that you're immune, and I know you think it might skip you. You might be too strong to get it. You might be too pretty. You might be too diesel. You might think. But think about others other than yourself. You know what I mean? Shout out to the world. I'm hoping that everybody's in a great space, great place. Let's pray. And that's what Sunshine. You can find me on Instagram at I am Tony Sunshine on Instagram. Facebook is Tony Sunshine.
And I do want to say,
Tony,
thank you so much for coming up on Outlaw Radio Live. It was an absolute honor and a privilege, and I have to say, it truthfully was a dream come true for me because I've been a fan of your music since I was very young, so thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother. Positive vibes. You dig?
Most definitely. Have yourself a wonderful night, man. Stay safe.
Yeah.